All right, last one as we're looking at solving trig word problems. So, a mass oscillating up and down on the bottom of a spring, assuming perfect elasticity and no friction or air resistance, can be modeled as harmonic motion. Now, keep this in mind. If this is harmonic motion that we're working with, know that we're going to be using one of these two equations from a previous page. You need to write those down. I just copied and pasted them, okay? So it could be a sine omega t or a cosine omega t. Now, if the weight is displaced a maximum of 5 centimeters, so if you can picture this thing, it starts at 0, it's pulled down to 5 centimeters, is let go, and it bounces up here to 5 centimeters above, and then back down to 5 below, back 5 above, 5 below, 5 above, 5 below, etc. Okay? So, what's going on here is I've got a couple things. It also tells me find the modeling equation if it takes 2 seconds to complete one cycle. Okay, so this would be helpful as I find the frequency. Because remember, I'm going to write one of these modeling equations. Okay, so here's my answer. It's going to be D equals something. I know that that's something. A is going to be 5 because that's the amplitude, so I'll put a 5 here. It's going to be D equals 5 times something. Now, sine or cosine, well, I'm going to think about it this way. If I start in the middle, at t equals 0, that's sine because sine always goes through the origin. If I start at the top or the bottom, I'd be using cosine because that starts at a maximum or a minimum. So we're going to go with 5 times the sine of, and then something t. So we just need to figure out what is omega, okay? What is omega, our angular velocity? Well, we're going to find that from the frequency. So if the frequency is 1 cycle for every 2 seconds, and again, we put the time frame on the bottom when we do frequency. So 1 cycle every 2 seconds. Well, the way to find frequency was to take omega, whatever it happens to be, and divide it by 2 pi. So whatever omega is divided by 2 pi, that's what the frequency is. So I'm going to go ahead and solve this equation for omega. Little cross multiply and divide action because it's a proportion. 1 times 2 pi is 2 pi. 2 pi divided by 2 is going to be just pi. So omega in this case will be simply pi. So pi radians per second would be our frequency there, okay? Or our period, excuse me. So I'll put a pi there, and that's it. That was a modeling equation for that, okay? So if you want to graph it, you could take a look at it, but we'll skip that. You can do that on your own. That's it for lesson 8.